Ryan, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining our Building Builders podcast. Have been really looking forward to this chat.
Thanks a lot for having me, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. So Ryan, the team here has put together a list of questions to kind of help me guide this conversation, but I'm going to be right up front. I've got a whole lot of other questions. Hopefully I don't let the team down, but I'm a real fan of your Instagram account. You guys have got the most interesting content, Canadian content out there. Just absolutely love and recommend it to everyone.
Nice. We have a lady by the name of Connie who takes care of that for us, and she does all of our sort of marketing and stuff like that. So she's very good at her job, but she's had a big, we're trying to grow out west in Western Canada. We're trying to grow down south of the border. And we're trying to always keep growing here in Ontario. So there's a few fronts to fight at the same time. And she's definitely trying to keep a bit of a plan in place and not just have it like helter skelter. So there is a bit of a plan there, believe it or not.
No, I bet, but wow, yeah, such great stuff. I'm pretty sure I saw a very large loader going onto a plane, I think, on your account at one point. Yeah, so many cool projects, but yeah, looking forward to maybe talking about a few of them here.
Yeah.
So I come from starting and running family businesses, and have a strong respect for family-run businesses. Maybe just to dive in here, would love to hear more about your journey and the experience with working with family.
Well, I guess my dad started working for himself when he was very young, like 13 years old, probably started cutting grass and stuff like that. So he would make more on a Saturday afternoon, or on a whole day on a Saturday than my grandfather, who was a Toronto policeman at the time, would make in a whole week. So my father's never really had a job. He's only ever worked for himself. He's always been very entrepreneurial-like, and he still continues to this day to be very entrepreneurial-like. So obviously growing up alongside my father, I just immediately fell in love with the equipment and the guys and stuff like that, and I never wanted to miss a day. I could remember when I was a kid going to a kids camp, and I couldn't wait to get home to see what was going on. And I felt like I had fun at camp, but I missed too much of work. So I was addicted from a very young age. So it was very easy for me to, get into the business and start doing it and stuff like that. So I have a twin sister. She was very involved with the business as well. She's taken a step back in the last couple of years. She's gone on to do some other things, but she was very involved also. So it was very, very close family for a while there. And then my cousin Brian is very involved with the business. He's a vice president for us. So he's only a couple of years younger than me. So we grew up together. We're great friends. Our kids are great friends, and we hang out all the time, obviously at work and not at work. So, and now we have kids and nephews and stuff like that coming into the business. So that's always an exciting time too, on the family front.
Sorry, that's so cool. I've heard so many horror stories. People tell me about these horror stories of working with family, but when it works, it really works well, right? I mean, I think, yeah,
it's hard to separate business from family sometimes, and so I've done a little bit of work on trying to keep that sort of aligned. Obviously you want to try and support your family and help your family, but at the same token, you don't want to upset the apple cart within the business because of family and so on and so forth. So I think there is a bit of a fine line there, and just sometimes just open communication helps solve a lot of that. But at the end of the day, there's some personalities that are meant for it and some personalities that maybe don't suit it, right? So if you're able to get through it, then you can, and if you're not, then you're not. That's maybe the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan, maybe switching gears a little bit, I wanted to just ask you about your Toronto Pearson Airport Terminal 1 job. It sounds like that was a really transformative project for the company. I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, when we were bidding that job, it was probably the biggest job that we had ever bid at the time. And back then, when we were bidding those types of projects, it was all like longhand. We didn't really use a computer at the time. I had gone through college at the time, and we were just starting to get, I guess, computerized for estimating and stuff like that. And so, when we were bidding that particular project, it was all longhand. And I remember going through the full SCAP and the printed paper and everything, and we came up with this number in the millions of dollars, and we were just like, wow, this seems like a lot, And and when we put the bid in, and the next morning I came in and I said, Dad, I could hardly sleep a wink last night. I'm so excited. He said, son, I couldn't sleep a wink either, but it wasn't for the same reasons as you. So, anyway, we ended up being successful with the bid, and then we had to obviously do the project. And I basically, spent the next period of my life living at the airport. And we brought a portion of the whole entire company with us, including their service fleet, and we built a little temporary building down there. We serviced our own equipment down there on site, and the rest of the company kind of kept going about their business. And anytime they had a machine breakdown, they'd send it to the airport because we were working 12-hour days, and we'd work weekends, and so we just had a little bit more of a open door policy than back at the home base yard. So we ended up getting that job done on time and stuff like that, but it was mostly due to long hours and just, putting your head down and grinding it out. It wasn't a whole lot of, we did hire people, obviously, but there wasn't, we didn't have a lot of machines and stuff like that at the time that we could just go and buy and stuff like that. So, and it was a very successful project for us in the end, and it mostly gave us the confidence to go and start bidding bigger projects. I think that was the big thing that came out of it. We weren't, after that, there was no looking back.
Yeah, some of those huge early projects, the big portfolio jobs are really more about learning experience. They're not sort of the get rich on the first one. It's maturing the company. I remember I had a few back at our last company, Forstall, where I remember there was one where we were diverting a small river, and I slept on that job site for about a week. I did not want those pumps to go off at nighttime, right? But the learnings that you get from those larger scale projects are super valuable.
Yeah, and then when we did the Terminal 1 project, we ended up taking it, like top-down method for the top 4 floors of the parking garage so we could reach it with our high-reach equipment. And then another project came out in downtown Toronto. So we got that project as well. So we basically took that crew of guys that were doing top-down, and we moved them, the mini excavators, the skid steers, the men, the post jacks, the engineered plan basically went to this other project, and we did very well at that one also, just because, again, we were very used to it, so the learning curve had sort of been done at the first project. So a lot of these projects, when you get them, if you get them like once a year, once every couple of years, it's something you've done before, but it's hard to sort of vault the learning curve early on, It just takes time sometimes.
You end up building a team that's kind of the resident expert in that locale, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like that's what you're doing. Are there any other big jobs that stand out? I've got written down here: Maple Leaf Gardens, Rogers Center, the Expressway. I've loved watching the Gardner Expressway work on Instagram. Anything else?
Maple Leaf Gardens, the inside of that place, but also the Scotia, like the Scotiabank Arena. It's we took down the old post office there for PCL. I was still pretty much in college at the time, so I was just graduating at the time when we were finishing up there, but I would come home on the weekends and work there. But that was, again, one of the bigger projects for us. It was I think it was maybe the second project we had done for PCL at the time. But the same thing, it was like, my father down there almost every Saturday trying to make sure that we were keeping the steam going, like it's if you say, hey, do you guys want to work Saturday? And my dad would show up, they'd all show up, and if my dad didn't show up, then only 10 out of 20 would show up or something like that. So it just seemed like, and we just so it's, and then from there we just did a lot of those bigger projects. The one we just did at Rogers Center, same thing. We took out about 20,000 seats, and they don't want us to sell any of the seats. So, of course, but it doesn't say that in the contract. But I'm like, I don't think we should really upset the apple cart here for selling a seat for $50 or $60 or whatever it is. So, sometimes you just got to kind of play the game a little bit. But, we've done a lot of one project we just did was in Attawapiskat. We did a remote mine. So it was fly in, fly out, and we'd do 2 weeks on, 1 week off type of thing. So that's where we put like a Cat 345 high reach into a Hercules airplane in Timmins and flew it up there. And we're actually just in the midst of getting ready to go back up and haul a bunch of scrap down the ice road. So we've been sort of well received with the First Nation up there, so the Attawapiskat First Nation. And a lot of people that come to work in these communities, sometimes they get along and sometimes they don't. But the First Nations are pretty, when they don't get along with you, they're pretty vocal about it, I think, So when they do get along, they're also pretty vocal about it. So that's great. We did a school up there probably in 2010-ish, 2011. And then we did this mine starting in probably 2020. So we've been working up there the last sort of 2-3 years. So, and that's been really fun and exciting. And now we've got this work going on in the U.S. and work going on out in Western Canada for the first time. We're just really getting our legs under us out in Western Canada. We're finally starting to get a book of business out there where we can actually keep a little more consistent. And same with down in the U.S., just starting to bid more and more and more during the pandemic. It was hard to try and grow the business in the U.S. because just with all the difficulty around the rules of crossing borders and the isolation, quarantine, pick any of those, vaccination, all that wording, whatever you want to pick. It's just what are the rules today? It's just been a little bit. So that's starting to finally clear up a little bit for that to happen for us. So those are all exciting things as well.
What's it like, bidding a job where you have to put an excavator on a plane for the first time, and then also what's it like actually putting your excavator on a plane for the first time? It's got to be a pretty weird feeling.
I know. So one of the things that we do here is we do a lot of our own service and repair work here ourselves. So, as far as dismantling a machine, we feel very comfortable doing that ourselves. But when the guys came from the airline, like the Hercules airline, they were like, I was like, I'm going to come to this meeting myself. I'm very interested. It was like the most low drama meeting ever. The guy's like, we're good with 40,000 pounds. He says, we can take off with 75,000 pounds, but screws start falling out of the fuselage. So we try and keep it around 40. And I'm like, okay, that's 40 it is. So we're clear, right? And he's like, you just put it on a skid. We roll it in, we roll it out. You don't come on the plane. We don't come off the plane. We back up, we roll it on, we roll it off. And so we prepared all the equipment properly for the right dimensions and the right weights, and it really went very smoothly. Actually, they did 2 and 3 trips a day up to the mine site, and they brought loads home. So we had sort of prepared loads at both ends for the mine as well. So we brought home some of their equipment and stuff like that. So it worked out great.
So on a somewhat similar note, there's some tech involved there. Can you speak a little bit to, using tech to, manage fleet and operations, how you're doing that?
Well, so I'm definitely not our best tech person here. So I guess I'm right at the age of where it's a little bit hard for me to learn still, I guess. But we have software for almost everything here. So we manage all of our bids through like a bidding software, estimating software called B2W, and then we also have the track option for B2W. So all of our work in the field is tracked on a daily basis based on our production rates and so on and so forth. And all the guys' hours are going in through that app as well. And then we have B2W for service and repair as well. So all of our equipment, when you need a service or repair, you put it into the app what you need, and then it gets scheduled from there. Obviously, we still have telephones, so if it's something that's super urgent and an emergency, you can still call and get someone. But as far as the app goes, just a good way of tracking to try and give us some data on our uptime and downtime and how many pieces a day are kind of going down, or how many calls a day we get to our shop and stuff like that. And it's a little overwhelming when you get pieces all over the countryside like we have now.
So it's really come a long way since bidding the Pearson Airport in 2004.
Well, exactly. And back then it was just, some people got a call back and some people did. Just depends on how many hours in the day was left at the end of the day, right? So, but now everyone's available. Seems like it's almost 24/7. Some people still turn off their phone, which you got to respect at the end of the day. But, we're almost working around the clock 7 days a week. Like, definitely there's times when we've been working at Union Station. I think one of our first contracts was 2008. And we've probably done, I'm going to guess, like 20 contracts for a dozen different contractors down there. And we're just doing another big contract down there as we speak. But eventually, Union Station will be out of work. I just don't know when that will be, Kevin. Apparently that's not the case today. But, I mean, we've worked on the roof of the train tracks. And we've worked in the train wells themselves and the platform levels, and put in elevators and escalator openings. We've done demolition below the tracks, excavation in the moat out around Union Station, stuff like that. And, the only way you're going to try and track how you're doing on those projects is to try and keep your costs in the know on a daily basis. So there's no way that you can forecast what you're going to spend without having some kind of, calculator there to help you calculate what the spend is, because it's just too much. So I do appreciate what the technology brings to our business, and I think it allows us to scale the business, and I think it allows us to make good decisions within the business. And I feel like there's still a lot of people, contractors out there that are, doing great without it. So I can't blame them for not doing it. But, if you want to scale your business, you have to get on some kind of platform where you can sort of manage your business.
So you've kind of just answered my next question. I was going to ask, is it more about reducing risk or scaling business or becoming more efficient?
Well, I think it's about all three, really. Yeah. I mean, the only way you can know where we are on any given day is to go into the software, basically. I mean, you can have a good pulse without it, but, we have people every day that are inputting their data and stuff like that. We're trying to manage 500 people here on any given day. So you're trying to figure out where they're going, what they're doing, and how much time they're spending to get whatever task done. And if you want to make a correction because it's not going well, and it could be something we're doing wrong, it could be something the client's asking us, something that's come up and unforeseen or what have you. So the only way you're going to get to the bottom of it if it can actually get communicated up to someone that can actually have that conversation with the client. And to manage the kind of volumes we're doing today with the amount of people we have, you need some kind of software. That you can run a great business with 25, 50 people, they're the front seat of your truck and do a pretty good job. But actually, it's not that bad to keep a handle on for the most part. But once you get over 100 excavators, you get over 50 skid steers, and you got tractor trailers driving around all over the place. It can be a little bit much to manage for any one person and a cell phone.
Yeah, a cell phone and a whiteboard, it's a little much, right? So tell me about, I wanted to ask a little bit about sustainability. You guys are kind of known for sustainability, and I'd like to learn more about your approach.
Well, it's to be in the demolition business in the GTA, you almost have to be somewhat sustainable. You have to recycle a certain amount. If you just take down a building and put it in the truck and take it to the landfill, you probably won't last long. the cost of landfilling in the GTA has always been one of the highest it's been. So it's you can't compare it to doing work in other places sometimes because of it. So my other thing with sustainability is we have a yard that we still sell used goods out of. Like if you're taking down a house, for example, and on the side of that house is like a 2-year-old air conditioner, you can grab it like this and chuck it in the back of the bin, but what good is that really doing? You know, that thing has life left in it. And my thing is you know, the yard should always have inventory once we have a certain amount of volume of stuff. And then, you know, you get nostalgic stuff. Like in my office, I have 2 seats from Maple Leaf Gardens and 2 seats from Rogers Center and 2 seats from whatever you want to do, a whole bunch of other places, right? But I mean, like that's more nostalgic than sustainable. But even like SM insulation, sometimes we'll take a roof by hand, save the SM insulation, bring it back to our yard, and we sell every piece of it.
Really?
Because
Wow.
SM insulation really doesn't go bad.
Wow.
Like if you have a piece
That's
of
super
SM
interesting.
insulation that's 20 years old, it hasn't lost its R value. It hasn't, you know, if you want to use it to bury a foundation or something like that to insulate a foundation wall or something like that, it's you can buy it for half the money and it still does the same job. So, and then the steel beams, steel stairs, some of the old, you know, chairs and desks and stuff like that. I mean, some of it's still good. It's not all good, but some of it's still good. So we try and pick and choose what to bring back to our yard that we really have a confidence level that we can sell. You know, it's not just a matter of filling up the yard. So, but we've done a pretty good job of that in the last couple of years, trying to whittle that down. And, you know, we've always crushed our own concrete on site. And now we have probably 5 crushers crushing. So we do custom crushing as well. And we have our own scrap yard. So we try and bring our scrap back to our yard if it's a mixed load, so we can try and sort it and segregate it and basically upsell it once it's separated. And we do the same thing with a lot of our non-ferrous. So we'll bring some of our non-ferrous back to the yard and we'll sort it, separate it, clean it, and upsell it for the highest money. And so that's all part and part of it. Now we're starting to get into some bigger discussions on, like I was just at a conference in Austria, Vienna, Austria, and the company over there did a presentation and they calculated their carbon footprint as a demolition / excavation company, and they switched their diesel fuel to like a biofuel, and their carbon footprint went down by like 92%. So, I mean, I dare to ask someone in our office to just, can you start working on our carbon footprint calculation? You know, but I think as a company that you need to start doing that sooner than later, and then do it the next year and just see if, even if you improve by even 1%, I think that that's good. Like, obviously you'd want to improve by as much as you can, but at the same token, I think if you could actually make an improvement in your carbon footprint, you're winning. So that's just an interesting concept, but that's how you look at it from a high level, I think, to a certain degree. And I think that that's where it's going to move to. Certain clients are going to actually start asking you these kinds of questions, like, what is your carbon footprint? And I mean, if somebody was to ask us that today, I think the answer would be we'd have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just, so it's all that. And I think the big thing is just employee retention. I think the more people you can keep around a longer period of time, I think it actually ends up being a more sustainable way to run your business. You know, I think the turnover is hard on any business, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's, if you're driving a truck somewhere and you're happy driving a truck here, I think that's great. And you should drive a truck here for a long period of time. I'm not saying it has to be forever, but don't come here for 3 months or 6 months and then go there for 3 months or 6 months. Like, you should stick it out for a few years, no matter where you go, and give it a chance, in my opinion. But there's just a lot of, I guess it's a turbulent labor market right now, is maybe a fair way of saying it, right? So there's just a
for sure.
shortage of people, and stuff like that. So
So how, on that note, how do you use company culture to attract, retain, great employees, keep them on for more than 3 months, multiple years, a career, and how does safety come into that company culture?
So, I mean, it's the full package for sure. I think there's some of the younger folks are asking different questions now than they've asked previously. Like again, what is your ESG, or what is your, what would be my career plan here, and so on and so forth. So I think having a strong culture is based on having the ability to make all those questions answerable in one way or another. Safety obviously is right at the forefront of all of it. I mean, I don't think anyone's looking today to be unsafe. I think that ship has sailed. There's growing up, it was like, oh my God, are we really going to have to start using these safety harnesses? And now I think it's, all right, well, let me go get my harness. I'll be right back. So I think that it just takes some time for some of it to sort of set in. But, here, for instance, at Priestly's, I think that we have a great safety culture. I think we have a great human culture within the organization. And, some of our values and some of that is family. I think you want to try and treat people the way you'd want to be treated. I think that that's super important. And, it's just hard to keep as you keep growing, to keep it consistent, right? So it's you just over time you just get bigger and bigger, and trying to keep those pillars alive. Our social media, you spoke to our Instagram. Yep. I mean, we use that for a retention, or a trying to find people, high performers, but also trying to retain people, right? So I think you want to try and tell the story to someone who works in a part of the operation, doesn't see how we take down a bridge on a Saturday night, or how we take down the inside of Union Station, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, you're using it to celebrate the work, of the team, right? To showcase some of this amazing work that's often done after hours, and people can then share that that account and say, hey, that I was on that job, that's me in the picture.
Well, and I think really cool too, it's the people who are actually doing the work, sometimes they don't even really realize how well they're doing it, or getting recognized for it too, right? So it's the people that are doing the back of house work to make the work happen, the people that are actually making the work happen out on site to be recognized. And you get the odd person walk through the door here and says, I want to run a machine, I want to run a high reacher, I want to run a machine on a bridge demolition one day. Well, gotta start somewhere, might as well start right here.
So talking about the next generation, kind of coming in, interviewing, joining the company. My first question there, I'm curious, do they ask about safety up front? Is it like a two-way interview? Has it come that far?
We're seeing more and more of it for sure. People are saying they're going to apply a few places, and they'll let us know if they're interested, type of thing, which is kind of interesting. Like you say, it's not like they're looking at one option. Whereas I think probably more like 10 years ago, like I remember we had one guy that followed us on YouTube, and he lived in Saskatchewan, and him and his wife moved to he actually drove by our office on the way to his house, and he had no idea that he was going to be that close to our office where he was moving from Saskatchewan to Ontario. And he came in, he sat in the lobby, he basically said, I'm not leaving until I speak to someone that's going to hire me. I know you guys are going to hire me. So, that was a little different type of application for sure, right? So, and he still works here today. So, sometimes you find someone like that's just very passionate about the industry as a whole, and, very comfortable with what they see with the social media and so on and so forth. And they've made up their mind this is where they want to be, which is fantastic.
Do you have any advice for those, on their way up, just starting their career in construction and demolition?
I don't think you can underestimate the value with being a few minutes early every day. and
Yes.
being willing to stay a little late. Like, I mean, nobody really wants to work any more than they have to. Like, that's human
Yep.
nature. I get that part of it. But in this industry, it's like, hey, it's going to rain tomorrow. If we stay an extra hour, we can get this done, and it would put us in a better position for when it rains tomorrow. And I don't think you can really underestimate the value of that. So just being a little
Right.
bit flexible. And like, we do a lot of work like all over the place in our organization. So we don't just work in, say, Aurora, Newmarket area. Like, you're not coming to work in a landscaper that does, they work within a 20-minute drive. We work all over the place. So some people really enjoy the travel and are really up for the challenge. But the other thing with I feel like some of the young folks is just to take it all in. I feel like they really they feel like they've learned what they've learned, and they know what they know, and they're very comfortable with that. But I just feel like, I don't care where you did your learning. You're 25 years old. There's just, like, I feel like I'm just getting going,
Right.
and I'm 25 years later than that. So when they have this sort of outlook, like it's we've done our learning, and now it's just a matter of me, doing my career. It's the learning never stops, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Oh, absolutely. I'm a real, I don't know what's the word. I encourage continuous learning, right? I mean,
yeah,
I come from a family of educators. I have a healthy respect for education and just in general, continuous learning.
yeah,
We're going to learn right until our last day, and we can't assume that we know everything. I certainly don't. I've made an interesting career transition from being out in the field in construction and coming into a construction tech company as a non-technical founder. I learn every single day, right? I was learning when I was out in the field, but it sounds a little cliche, but hiring people that are smarter than you, that's what we do here.
Yeah.
Everyone is, in their own
works
way.
pretty good,
I
doesn't
learn
it?
from them. Yeah, right. I learned from all of them, right? And we're all kind of learning from each other. So, no, I completely agree. I also like the note that you had about the showing up a few minutes early and maybe not every day, but there's times where, hey, it's going to rain tomorrow. Working that extra hour is going to be so important to, the team, to the company. And I think that, kind of having that outlook on, being a part of the company rather than, working the 9 to 5 and putting in hours, but actually being a part of it and caring and wanting to get the job done. And, that has a direct impact on what the company can do for you in the future, right? I mean, a really successful project means there's going to be more room for raises and growth and all kinds of different things. So
I saw one guy this summer, and he had a big hole in his work boots. I said, "You have a big hole in your work boots. Your feet are the only thing that only you can take care of. Like,
right.
Nobody here can tell you you need new work boots. You need to look at your boots and tell you need new work boots. Like, you're getting paid a boot allowance. Like, you have money for work boots. Go and get yourself a new pair of work boots. Like, this is not, these work boots are what's going to make you." Well, then I see him a week later, and he forgets his work boots. So he's got a pair of running shoes on. I said, "Well, what are you doing?" He says, "Well, I forgot my work boots." So how did you forget your work boots? You're 20 years old, for crying out loud. I have never, ever in my life forgotten my work boots. Like, I wake up in the morning, I sit down on the bench at my house, I put on a pair of work boots, and I walk out the door, and when I come home at night, I take off my work boots. Like, how do you even get out the door without your work boots on? But again, it's just a different time, right? And they're looking at you like you're almost being unreasonable, right? It's like, well, I'm just suggesting, like, you see the guy in that machine over there, he's been working here 30 years, ask him how many times he's forgot his work boots, because it's probably not even once. Or even being late. I was asking one of the, like, my father-in-law, I was saying to him, like, because he worked for Ontario Hydro, And Ontario Hydro, I think, it's a very regimented sort of corporate place. It's especially in the day, right back in the 70s and 80s and some of that, hard to get in. I asked him, how many times are you late? He's like, twice. Once in a snowstorm and once I got a flat tire. How long did you work there? 40 years. You know what I mean? It's not even, you weren't even late. Nobody even noticed,
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas today everybody's late. I'm late all the time too, so I'm not very good for that. But I just I try and make up for it, I guess.
Yeah. I know. Me too. I've got to get better at not running meetings long and starting the next one late. Right. It's kind of the curse of sort of this virtual work environment where you can be ultra efficient and stay on Zoom meetings and not have a minute in between them, and if one goes over, the next one's late. But I mean, different topic there. But, so Ryan, as a construction tech company or a construction company, we always like to ask our guests if they have a favorite piece of equipment.
Well, I think I don't know if I have a favorite piece of equipment, but certainly we bought our first high reach in like 1993, and I think I pretty much fell in love with a piece of high reach equipment. And we're buying we have probably 13 high reaches now, and so we're trying to bolster our fleet with high reaches to be able to do that type of work. I think it's the safest way to do a building versus top-down method. And the latest high reach we bought has oil quick right on the boom, so you can take off the high reach boom with the oil quick coupler and put on a regular boom. And so the concept there is just obviously being more efficient time-wise, but also safety. You're not pushing and pulling pins, and like on a day like today, it's freezing rain. If the guys are out there having to put that boom on today, obviously having an oil quick system would be, you couldn't even do it. You wouldn't be out there in the freezing rain trying to do it, right? So it's just safer. You don't spill any oil. And if you want to put the regular boom on to do some work and switch back and forth in a day, it's not the end of the world. It's relatively easy. You can do it in 5-10 minutes and away you go. So, it's about being less machines on the job. A lot of times we have a support machine with a high reach no matter what, even if there's not a whole lot for the support machine to do. Well, in this particular case, probably you won't need that support machine as much for sure until a certain portion of the job where you start to do the secondary work of processing the concrete and steel and so on.
Love it. Yeah, it sounds
probably
awesome.
High reach, I guess. High reach.
Yeah, well, you said high reach, but I think the attachment or the tech on the high reach is almost the second and maybe most important answer. Absolutely love that. Man, equipment has just come such a long ways in the last 15-20 years. That's a great example. So Ryan, I want to thank you for being on our podcast, on Building Builders podcast. It's been really, really awesome chatting with you. And before we wrap up, is there a way that our viewers can get in touch with you or follow and see some of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, you can check out our website at www.priestly.ca, and you can check out our Instagram at Priestly Demolition Incorporated. And I believe we have other accounts like Facebook and Twitter, etc. But I personally don't have a Facebook account. I only have a Instagram account, right. And my email is rpriestley@priestly.ca. So I'm always available too. I'm not the best at reading my email just because I seem to get a lot. So I do get to them eventually, but if you're looking for a 30-second response, you should probably email someone else within the organization.
Yeah.
So, but that's about it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks. It's been great. Really appreciate it again. Thanks, Ryan, and hopefully we can maybe we'll catch up with you in Vegas.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Always a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.